Well, I am getting outside of my comfort zone today and talking psychedelics and how you can invest in them. How pharmaceutical psychedelics can help combat anxiety, depression, and alcoholism. We are speaking with the founder of MindMed, which is a company that is specializing in trying to help people feel better. So we're going to learn more about it. I definitely will learn more about it. So please welcome to the show, JR Rahn. JR, nice to meet you.
Daniela, thanks for having me on.
So I feel like people just now were starting to get more comfortable with cannabis stocks. And now you want to introduce LSD? You crazy, JR?
That's the exact same reaction that I received from Kevin O'Leary 2 years ago, or just under 2 years ago, when I said, "Hey, Kevin, we want to fix mental health and addiction in the United States and in Canada, and we think that psychedelics might have the best potential to do that." And he just was like, I'm not sold. I'm not a buyer. Count me out. But much to his team's persistence, he came in as our first investor in the seed round way back then.
Right. So Kevin O'Leary, who's a friend of our show, is an investor, and he's obviously fully bought in here. But I need to learn more. So it's how does it work, and how can it make one feel better? I mean, is it for, you mentioned anxiety, depression. Is it just really to help mental issues, or can it also be used for pain management, the way we saw cannabis being used? So
I think the main market that we are addressing is mental health and addiction, and those are important markets, right? 40% of Americans in the midst of COVID-19 had a mental health or struggle with a substance abuse disorder, 40%. So 11% of Americans had considered committing suicide in the midst of COVID-19. These are really big societal problems, and we don't really have great solutions for them. Right. So we have existing medicines that you might have heard of, like SSRIs or Xanax, that are a lot of times prescribed by psychiatrists,
right,
to help with those. Psychedelics are a totally new paradigm. It's a totally new asset class. And much stigma still exists from the 1960s. Like, these are potentially evil substances. Like your initial reaction on me coming to the show today was, whoa. But I think a lot of times when you're shocked by something, that's typically when a company might be onto something. So let me tell you why these are going to be what we think, subject to our clinical trials getting approved, can be great medicines for a lot of people. Psychedelics fundamentally look at the underlying problem that is causing all these issues. Why are you having anxiety? Why do you have depression? Why do you drink? Why do you use cocaine? Comes back typically to a trauma, right? Or something that's happened in your life. And because we go through patterns in life, our brains just repeat and repeat and repeat. And so what psychedelics as a science and as a medicine are looking to do is really recalibrate how you're thinking about something, how you're thinking about your life. How do we provide a catalyst for somebody to stop using cocaine or an opioid? How do we get you to think about, hey, actually all that stress at work, it really shouldn't make you that anxious, because you're really good at your job, but you're just constantly ruminating and thinking on it. That is what psychedelic assisted therapy is focused on, is becoming that catalyst. And it's not just that we're going to give you LSD or psilocybin, the active ingredient in a magic mushroom. It's that there's a therapeutic process to get you there beforehand. And then after you have that catalyst moment, decompress what you've downloaded in the process.
Wow. Okay. You just literally just kind of blew my mind, because I wanted to ask you, and without getting like too deep or philosophical, I was going to say, well, does this just work as a Band-Aid solution? And I guess, yes, you could say the same for Xanax and those other drugs, of you're not really addressing the addiction issue, or you're not really addressing depression of why this person has it. You're just taking a drug that in that moment is going to make you think you feel better about yourself?
Yeah, so that's exactly what SSRIs and Xanax do. They're great Band-Aids. They make you a little bit happier, complacent. They, in many ways, mask the underlying problems that you're facing. And so I think really they're just not great solutions to mental health or addiction. Or methadone, for example, which is how, you know, people get off an opioid. So what psychedelics are doing is allowing you to go on that healing journey. And it's not a, like, you know, you take it once and, you know, you're going to feel great for the end of time. Like, we're not a panacea. We're doing this through FDA clinical trials to prove with real science that these drugs can have long-lasting effects, but they need therapy too. We also have microdosing. We're doing a phase 2 clinical trial for adult ADHD that is non-hallucinogenic and doesn't cause hallucinations, but we believe might have the ability to increase focus. And so there are millions of people in North America, adults like me, that were diagnosed with ADHD when they were kids, put on these stimulant-based medicines like Ritalin and Adderall, right, and develop lifelong addictions to stimulants. I mean, you know, the reason that I'm in this industry is because the substances that exist helped me. And I'm not so certain that I'd be sitting here talking to you without having exposure to psychedelic medicine.
Wow.
And so that's why I decided to leave Silicon Valley and set up the first publicly listed biotech company in the space. You know.
So you mentioned clinical trials. How far out are you?
Well, we're a few years away, I think, from getting an approval on multiple clinical trials. But what is interesting is, as a biotech company, the way that you prove up value is further developing your asset, right? And getting more data to understand how a medicine can be an effective use case for society. And so that's what the FDA process is all about. So we're heading into phase 2 trials now on 3 different programs, one for opioid addiction, the other for anxiety disorders using LSD-assisted therapy, and then the third is microdosing of that you would take like on a daily basis or a weekly basis for ADHD. And so those are going to take time, but what our objective is as a company is we want to become the project generator, the developer, and we're going to go to the larger pharmaceutical companies when we start seeing efficacy in our phase 2 studies and say, hey, let's partner. Let's fund these trials together.
So you guys are listed, correct, in Canada? And tell us.
Yeah, so we became the first publicly listed psychedelic pharmaceutical company or biotech. We listed on the NEO exchange in March. And we've had a very successful listing. And we announced in September that we're planning to uplist and filed our application with NASDAQ to become a NASDAQ listed company. Because everything we do is federally legal, unlike a lot of the folks over in cannabis, we believe able to get a listing in the United States. And one of our peers just had also a very successful IPO on NASDAQ, Compass Pathways. So this space is really growing, and it's growing quite quickly.
Well, I wish you luck with this. Talk about a psychedelic interview. I had to get that in there. But no, I learned a lot. This is fascinating to me. I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know you could take it on a daily basis and, you know, maybe really change people's lives here.
Yeah.
So JR, I appreciate you coming on and chatting with me today.
Well, thank you so much.
And thank you all for watching and staying tuned to Stansberry Research. We will have much more for you, so you can follow us on all our social media channels. We're all there: LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks for watching. I'm Daniela Cambone.